Welcome to this week's AMT Fresh Produce Overview, your go-to source for the latest price movements, market trends, and forward-looking insights. If you're producing, buying, or selling fresh produce, you're in the right place. This episode is made possible by Standard Bank, helping you grow every step of the way. So let's dive in. The biggest gainer over the past week was cucumbers that surged by 35% and was driven by short-term availability constraints and good demand before the Easter weekend. The biggest loser was tomatoes that dropped by 11% due to higher supply. On the watch list for this week is tomatoes. Watch closely, any spike in volumes could accelerate the price drop. Carrots, despite strong prices, strong volumes and weaker post-Easter demand could signal a correction ahead. The national average potato price dropped last week by 10% to R67.47 per 10 kg, with large at 85, mediums at 62 and smalls at 41 rand. Mondial and Safra price varieties rose to 67 and 68 rand respectively, while the average class 1 potato price averaged on 73.34 rand. Prices are now 28% higher with 10% lower volumes on the markets. We're still getting rain in a lot of regions, which is keeping volumes lower than expected and also keeping prices on a relatively good level for this time of the year. The general consensus, however, is that the markets opened up on Tuesday with very low demand and not a lot of buyers active, which is unexpected after a long weekend when the markets were closed. The expectation is for potato prices therefore to remain sideways and the lower volumes to offset the lower demand on the markets for this week. The average onion price increased sharply to R86.69 per 10 kg last week, but is still about 7% lower compared to last year this time. We're now seeing 4% less volumes on the markets than last year this time. The average brown onion price increased to 87, red onions increased to 98, while the average white onion price increased to 93 rand per 10 kg. Large onions traded higher on 93, mediums increased to 92, and smalls increased as well to 74 rand per 10 kg. We are still expecting volumes to stay under pressure at least until the end of August this year, and prices that can therefore remain in this upward trend until then. I still think we will see higher prices than last year, with less onions likely to come into the markets over the winter months. Tomato prices decreased further last week due to lower demand, with the latest national average price trading 11% lower on R13.23 per kilogram. This price is now 16% lower than last year this time, with volumes on similar levels compared to a year ago. Large tomatoes traded at R15.71, mediums on R13.79 and smalls on R11.85. We are expecting prices to start decreasing now, with more volumes and lower demand that usually drive prices down after the Easter weekend. The market, however, started off with less volumes than expected, so this could limit the price drop this week. Carrot prices jumped to R11.52 per kilogram and is now 37% higher than last year this time. Large carrots traded on R12.56, mediums at R9.37 and smalls higher on R10.50. We are, however, now expecting more volumes on the markets, which could, coupled with a lower demand after the Easter weekend, start to drive prices downward. There is not a lot of stock now on the markets, but the price already dropped and could continue in this downward trend as we move into May. The average pepper price increased by 1% to R17.25 per kilogram. Green peppers traded lower on R11.28. Yellow peppers traded sharply higher on R42.04, while red peppers increased to R28.40 per kilogram last week. The average price is still about 48% higher than a year ago, with the rain impacting the volumes and quality coming into the markets. We are, however, still expecting this price to stay on a lower level during May and June due to more volumes expected on the markets. Cabbage prices dropped by 9% to R3.32 per kilogram. Garlic prices increased by 22% to R63.11 per kilogram, with locally produced garlic now on R51.70 and imported garlic on R88.68. Spinach prices increased by 3% to R8.97 per kilogram and is now 149% higher than a year ago. Sweet potato prices increased by 34% to R7.43. Pumpkin prices increased by 1% to R3.87. Butternuts increased to R5.20. Green beans increased by 2% to R14.56, while cucumber prices increased by 35% to R17.12 per kilogram. For a deeper dive into these and other market insights, be sure to download our latest reports, available for free at amtrends.co.za. Shifting our focus to the fruit markets, however, the average banana price traded 1% lower on R10.35 per kilogram or R186 per 18 kilogram box, and is now 3% higher than a year ago. Apple prices increased to R10.11 per kilogram and is now 15% higher than a year ago. I still think apple prices can start to stabilize very soon. The latest pear price traded on R8.54 per kilogram and can also remain on current levels for now. The orange prices surprisingly increased by 4% to R5.33 per kilogram and is now about 2% higher compared to a year ago. We are expecting prices to stabilize around these levels now and then possibly dip further during May, when we expect more volumes coming into the markets. The avocado price increased by 16% and traded on R13.98 per kilogram last week and is now 3% higher than a year ago. Variety-wise, Viertes increased to R19, Haas traded on R10, while Pinkertons increased slightly to R12 per kilogram. I think the avocado price can stay on this level now for the next month or two. The average grape price traded 15% higher on R33.34 per kilogram, as that market is coming to an end now. Pineapple prices increased by 8% to R12.28. Lemons decreased by 2% to R5.77, while blueberry prices traded 34% lower on R222 per kilogram last week. The tips for the week for our potato producers is that although prices dropped by 10% last week, they remain well above last year's levels. Market conditions are, however, unstable, and consider timing your deliveries for mid to late week to benefit from potential price recovery if volumes stay low. For our carrot growers, we saw carrot prices are still high at the moment, but expect downward pressure as volumes increase. If you have the flexibility, move stock early before this price adjusts. For our tomato growers, demand has softened, but limited early week volumes might provide a brief price cushion. Keep an eye on market supply dynamics and avoid oversupplying too quickly. For our pepper producers, with the yellow pepper prices trading at R42, quality is now king. Rain has hurt the consistency of these produce to the markets, so invest in good sorting and packaging to secure those premium prices. For our fruit sellers, firmer pricing on avos, grapes and pineapples. Make sure to take advantage while demand holds, but be cautious of potential softening mid-May. For all our growers, post-holiday markets usually show erratic demand. Buyers are usually very cautious. Higher quality sorting and professional presentation remain your best tool for premium pricing. This episode was proudly brought to you by Standard Bank. For more detailed insights, forecasts and free downloadable tools, visit amtrends.co.za. I'm Dr. Johnny van der Merwe and thanks for tuning in. See you next week.